Ukraine sinks Russia's Shadow Fleet tanker, December 18th, 2025. That headline alone signals an extraordinary expansion of this conflict right into Russia's most critical economic infrastructure. We are talking about a major strategic strike miles deep inside previously safe territory. Subscribe to Defense Reports, your go-to source for timely, in-depth military and defense reports. I'm Alex.
And I'm Arya.
And in this latest deep dive from Defense Report, we're giving you a sharp, no-nonsense breakdown of the latest in global defense news, military tech, and strategic developments.
And today we're covering an event that I think really shifts the geography of economic warfare.
We're talking about the successful targeting and, yes, sinking of a highly critical energy vessel deep within the Don River Basin.
Yeah, and this wasn't just a random hit on some ship. This was a demonstration of extended reach and real precision. Our mission in this deep dive is to analyze the reports detailing this major Ukrainian drone strike.
And the key takeaways here, the cliffhangers, really tell the whole story. We're going to unpack why this strike matters so much. It targeted the Valeriy Gorchakov.
A confirmed vessel in Russia's internationally sanctioned Shadow Fleet.
And crucially, this vessel was struck more than 20 miles inland. We'll examine the precise damage, the casualties, and what this all means for Moscow's increasingly fragile ability to export its oil.
And perhaps more importantly, its ability to supply its own military in the south. We're moving beyond just reporting. This is about analyzing the successful use of asymmetric capabilities to degrade a major power's logistics.
Okay, let's unpack the strike itself. So, setting the scene. The night of December 18th, 2025. This was a chaotic, multi-city event, right? Explosions across Rostov-on-Don.
Taganrog, the initial facts centered on the maritime target. The vessel hit was a tanker docked in the port of Rostov-on-Don.
And it was right alongside the marine terminal of the Novoshakhtinsk oil products plant.
A location of immense strategic value, which, yeah, we'll definitely get into.
And while this was an attack on military-linked infrastructure, the human cost was tragically immediate.
That's right. Local authorities, including Governor Yuri Slusar, confirmed casualties right away. Reports noted 2 crew members were killed.
They were identified as the ship's cook and an engineer, Ivan Kuznetsov.
And 3 others were injured. This tragic loss really underscores the complexity of these strikes. The target is military logistics, but the crew, well, they're often civilian seafarers.
We know the fire that resulted, it covered about 20 square meters, was put out pretty quickly.
By about 5:21 a.m. local time, yeah. But the key detail for me is that even though officials said a major spill was avoided initially, they immediately deployed containment booms.
Which suggests they were very worried.
Deeply concerned about the vessel's integrity. And you have to remember, this was not a single isolated attack. Russian sources claimed it was a massive drone wave.
And witnesses were reporting sounds consistent with jet-propelled or even rocket-powered engines.
That distinction, jet or rocket power, is so critical. It speaks to the high speed and extended range of the UAVs Ukraine is fielding now. They're penetrating deep into Russian airspace.
And not with slow propeller drones.
Exactly. And even though the Russian Ministry of Defense claimed they downed 47 drones across the regions, including 3 over Rostov,
the confirmed damage tells a very different story. A significant number got through.
and we can't ignore the broader civilian impact. In Bataysk, a person was killed and 7 injured when a residential building was hit.
Right, and in Rostov-on-Don itself, falling debris or a strike damaged a residential building on Malinovskogo Street. That specific location is only 400 meters from a Ministry of Internal Affairs department.
Which again highlights that these are strikes targeting sensitive, high-density logistical and command hubs, even if they are in urban areas.
Okay, so if we pull back from the tragic human cost for a second, the real question is, who was the Valeriy Gorchakov? This is where it gets really interesting, because the vessel itself was the key strategic target.
Its profile makes it a highly valuable target. It's an older vessel, built back in 1969 as a dry cargo ship.
But converted.
Right, converted in 2004 into an oil tanker designed to transport refined petroleum products. It's about 139 meters long.
But the age and size aren't the real story here. The key term is shadow fleet. For listeners who follow this but might need a reminder, what exactly does shadow fleet status imply?
The shadow fleet is Russia's lifeline. It's how they get around international price caps and sanctions. These ships, like the Valeriy Gorchakov, are typically old. They lack proper international insurance.
And they do things like flag hopping, right?
Exactly. They switch their registry to countries with lax regulations to hide who owns them and where they're going. They are a huge operational risk, but they are essential for Moscow to keep its oil and refined products flowing.
And this ship wasn't just loosely associated with this, it was explicitly named.
Oh, absolutely. The Valeriy Gorchakov is under strict sanctions from the U.S., the EU, the UK, Canada, and Switzerland.
And Ukrainian intelligence had linked it to what specifically?
To repeatedly transporting military cargo through occupied ports, specifically Mariupol and Berdyansk. So hitting it is a direct action to disrupt the operational logistics of the Russian military in the south.
And the damage confirms the success of that mission. This wasn't just about immobilizing it. What did the final damage assessment say?
The reports were pretty conclusive. Critical structural damage.
Hull breaches.
Hull breaches that specifically took out the engine and rudder compartments. The wheelhouse also sustained serious damage.
But the visual confirmation was the real proof.
Absolutely. By that afternoon, the stern was so heavily submerged it was almost up to the superstructure. In a shallow river basin like that, it's not just damaged, it's a total functional loss. And a submerged ship becomes an immediate, prolonged obstruction.
Which brings us to the strategic value of the location itself.
Right. The geographical fact that this strike happened over 20 miles inland from the Sea of Azov. That's not just a trivia point. It fundamentally demonstrates a massive expansion of Ukraine's deep strike capability.
It proves that the Don River and its major ports are now contested military theaters.
They're no longer safe rear areas.
So they weren't just sinking a tanker, they were creating a choke point at one of Russia's most critical supply hubs.
Precisely. The vessel was hit right near the marine terminal of the Novoshakhtinsk petroleum products plant. Now, this facility, it's the largest oil processing plant in southern Russia. It has an annual capacity of 5.6 million tons.
And it's vital for what, specifically?
It processes and moves the specific grades of diesel and jet fuel that Russian military units in Crimea and the occupied territories need to operate. Sinking a large 139-meter tanker at the loading pier creates an immediate logistical blockage.
So it forces other vessels to just wait or reroute, causing a huge backlog.
And this successful strike didn't happen in a vacuum. Our sources show this as part of a sustained, systematic campaign against this specific logistical node.
So there's a pattern here.
A clear pattern. The same area had been attacked just 3 days earlier, on December 15th. A fire broke out only about 850 meters from where the Valeriy Gorchakov was hit. This systematic targeting forces Russia into what we call the strike, repair, restore, strike cycle.
And the effectiveness of that cycle is compounded by international sanctions, right? Because they can't just quickly bring in the parts they need.
Exactly. Because of the sanctions, Russia is severely restricted from getting the specialized tech required for these kinds of repairs. We're talking sophisticated engine parts, modern navigation electronics, specialized welding gear.
So if a loading pier is damaged, or a tanker needs dry dock repair,
they can't easily source or import those components. The delay caused by sanctions ensures that the damage from one strike persists, creating long-term structural weakness in their supply chain.
So if the tactical and logistical impact is that clear, what about the wider consequences? This has implications far beyond just the Don River. How is the global maritime community reacting?
Well, the rising risk is definitely drawing international attention. The UN's International Maritime Organization, the IMO, its Secretary General Arsenio Dominguez has called on all parties to stop targeting civilian seafarers and merchant ships.
The warning is about more than just the environmental risk, which is obviously huge with an oil tanker.
It is. It's about the massive geopolitical collateral damage and the dangerous precedent this sets for global trade. When non-combatant ships become targets, it threatens to destabilize commercial shipping everywhere.
The International Transport Workers Federation reiterated that seafarers are not a weapon of war,
highlighting the specific risk to the cook and the engineer who lost their lives. But if you connect this to the bigger picture, these deep strikes are also creating tension in Russia's relationships with its economic partners.
like the diplomatic tension with Kazakhstan.
That's a perfect example. Think about the November 29th strike on the Caspian Pipeline Consortium, the CPC terminal. That strike severely damaged the SPM-2 mooring system.
And that single hit resulted in, what was it?
An estimated loss of about 1.9 million barrels per day in Kazakh production capacity. Kazakhstan relies on that terminal. So despite their protests, Ukraine's actions show they are willing to create friction that Moscow then has to manage.
And if we look at the ultimate goal here, financial attrition against the Kremlin, this whole campaign against the shadow fleet, including previous strikes on ships like Kairos and Virat, seems to be working.
It absolutely is. The accumulated risk is hiking war risk insurance premiums dramatically for any vessel involved in Russian commerce. But let's zoom in on the specific price pain.
You mean forcing Russian oil to sell at a deeper discount?
A much deeper discount. We're mainly talking about the Urals benchmark, their primary export blend. Sources indicate Urals prices have fallen to a 3-year low.
And why is that so devastating?
Because every dollar lost on that discount translates directly into billions less in revenue for the Russian state budget, revenue they critically need to fund the war. This creates a feedback loop. Lower revenue means fewer resources for defense.
Which in turn exacerbates their force allocation dilemma.
Exactly.
Yep.
Moscow now has to spread its limited, high-demand air defense assets across a vastly wider territory, protecting inland ports and refineries instead of focusing them on the front lines.
So this was a strategic triumph, a successful deep strike, the neutralization of a major sanctioned vessel, and the creation of a cumulative logistical choke point at a crucial terminal.
Which raises an important question for you, the listener, to consider. The sinking of the Valeriy Gorchakov signals that Russia's most critical economic arteries, even inland ports they thought were safe, are now contested theaters. This forces Russia to consider a costly geographic reorientation of its exports, moving away from vulnerable ports to more expensive northern and Pacific routes. So the question is, can the Russian economy, already strained by sanctions and facing this constant strike repair cycle, really withstand the long-term costs of a war that now threatens its aging fleet and its core refining capacity?
You've been listening to Defense Report by Alex and Aria, where we analyze the latest in military strategy, global defense, and advanced weaponry.
We'll catch you next time.
Subscribe to Defense Reports, your go-to source for timely, in-depth military and defense reports.